In this video, we will be talking about iSENSE. iSENSE is a web-based platform for sharing and visualizing data. And the data in iSENSE can come from multiple sources. It can be student-collected data from a lab experiment, or it can also be what we call curated data, which means that it comes from a reliable source but is shared on iSENSE. So that could be data from something like the EPA. We're going to begin this tutorial in the ITSI platform, and I'm going to assume that you've already looked at activity part 4, can you filter your water? So in this activity, you actually entered data into iSENSE. So I'm going to scroll down to part 3 and click to start the iSENSE Interactive. And if we were to just add some demo data, I can enter my turbidity before filtering activity and my turbidity after filtering. And when I submit this data, my data is sent to iSENSE, and iSENSE sends back a visualization. Okay, and this visualization is just a simple bar graph showing my turbidity before filtering and my turbidity after filtering. And this is great if I just want to look at my own data. However, if I want to look at the data of my classmates or the data of everyone involved in the water science project, I can do that by going to the iSENSE website. And so the easiest way to get there is to click on this project tab and then select the link that says Open Full iSENSE Project. And this will open up the iSENSE website in a new tab in your web browser. And so just to orient you, this is the iSENSE website for this particular water science filtration project. And over on the right, under Fields, you can see all of the variables that are related to the project. And so this includes the turbidity before, the turbidity after, and some information about my team name, teacher name, state, etc. If I scroll down, we can look at all of the data sets that are currently in this project. And so the data set here just refers to the data that comes from a particular team at in a particular class in a particular school. And so you can see that there are multiple lines of data, and this demo teacher is the data that I just added. And so if I wanted to look at the data for just my class as a teacher, I can use this little trick. In the top right-hand corner under Data Sets, there's a little checkbox. And that checkbox gives you a drop-down menu. And in that drop-down menu, you could select just a particular key. And so if I wanted to look at the data for the state of Massachusetts, for the teacher, Ms. Bay, and just her second period class, I can check this little box, and you can see now there are only checkboxes next to the data sets that are from Ms. Bay's second period class. So once I've selected the data that I want to visualize, I'm going to click on this blue Visualize button, and a bar graph will appear. And so just like the bar graph that I saw before, this will show the turbidity before and the turbidity after filtering. But now this is grouped by team name. So each colored bar represents a different team name from my Massachusetts school. And so I can compare the turbidity before and after for each group. And I can also explore different data sets. So just to orient you to this, on the left-hand side, I can change different settings. And so by changing the group by, I could group just by teacher name. And then this will combine all of the data, since I'm only looking at the data for Ms. Bay. This will combine all of the data for the teams in her class. I could also change what is on the y-axis. So if I only want to look at the turbidity after filtering, I could uncheck the turbidity before box. And I could change different features such as only looking at the maximum values or looking at the median. And across the top, there are also other options for different visualizations, including a histogram. And so I could look at a histogram And if I change in the fields to turbidity after, I can look at a histogram for the turbidity after filtering for each of the groups, for all of the groups. And if I mouse over one of these bars, I can see the actual data. I can also look at things in table format, which just gives us the raw data. Or I could look at some sort of summary. And this will give me a summary of the data for the turbidity after filtering. And so here we're just looking at the data for a particular teacher in a particular period. If I wanted to go back and then visualize all of the data, I could do this by clicking on the water science filtration project name to go back to that main project page. So I'll do that now. So again, we're back at this main project page. You can see that the default is to show select all of the data. And so we're going to do that. And this time we'll just hit visualize again, but now we'll look at the data from all states. And so now we can see we're grouping by team name. And so we can see all of the different team names for all of the different schools. So this is currently just fake data that I've added to allow you to explore the data sets before your students start adding data. And now if I use this group by function, I can click on this drop down and I can choose to group by state. And so this takes the average values for the turbidity before for all of the Massachusetts information, for all of the Arizona information, and for all of the Pennsylvania information. So I could use this to make some kind of comparison. I can also use the map feature. And this will show me where the data came from for each of the states. And if I click on one of these little dots, it will spread out and I can see each of the data sets from that particular location. And if I click again on one of these dots, I can see the specific information for the data set represented by that dot. And so the best way to get comfortable with using iSENSE is actually just to explore some data. And so in the activity that you're going to do, you're going to look at this project, which is populated with fake data for now, and will eventually be populated with filtering data from your students. And you'll also look at a project that includes information about the Charles River in Boston. And so if you're interested in adding some data for the local water source in your town, you can feel free to contact me and I can help set that up for you. So my email is samantha@machinescience.org, and I hope you enjoy exploring data on iSENSE.